Ciao Marco, mi senti?
Yes, Paolo, we are already online, so we are starting the webinar.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. If you want to switch off the camera as the other participant. So, in my opinion, we can start. We have 2 minutes delay. So, welcome everybody. I'm Marco Baresi. I'm the Institutional Affairs and Marketing Director of Turboden. And I'm going to introduce the first part of this event. The today webinar is the official launch of the HEATLEAP project. There are more than 300 people registered. So thank you again for joining. It's a pleasure for us, demonstrating also the interest on the topic. The webinar will be registered and after that recorded, and after that will be available on YouTube platform. Let me go through the agenda. I will give you a brief introduction of the project, partners and objectives, and the key figures. Due to the fact that this project is strongly connected with policy and regulation, we are very glad to have European Commission on board today to deliver a speech immediately after my short presentation. Thanks in particular to Claudia Canevari, Head of Unit Energy Efficiency DG Energy from the European Commission. We have the possibility to learn more about the Energy Efficiency Directive revision process, and also the most probably the Fit for 55 package, and the energy efficiency first principle introduced with the revision of the Energy Efficiency Directive, the new Article 3. We scheduled also a short Q&A session after these two parts, and then we have hosted a roundtable among the partners of HEATLEAP, moderated by Hans Korteweg, the Managing Director of COGEN Europe, the partner in charge of dissemination. If you have specific question, you can interact with the chat. We will be able to reply to the question directly during the webinar or after that by email. Okay, first of all, why the HEATLEAP project? For 3 main reasons. First of all, there is a potential for full exploitation of waste heat recovery from industrial processes. We are familiar with direct use of waste heat, for example, for preheating or process or heating purpose. There is a possibility to convert the waste heat into electricity via ORC technology. Also, there is a possibility to increase the low temperature waste stream to feed a district heating or an industrial process that is a purpose of the HEATLEAP project. The second is the electrification of heat will be key in the decarbonization path. So it means electrification of heat means to produce it by power and also exploiting the renewable energy sources potential. Third aspect, we have there is a potential for energy efficiency in gas distribution system. For this infrastructure is a way to mitigate the environmental impact. The HEATLEAP project aims to demonstrate the environmental economic benefit of waste heat recovery systems, such as large heat pumps in energy-intensive industries and gas expander in gas distribution network, by testing this technology at real scale. This project is funded under the LIFE program, the EU-funded instrument for the environmental and climate action. Here you can see in the slide the web link to the web page of the HEATLEAP project. The partners of HEATLEAP, Turboden is the project coordinator and developer of gas expander and large heat pump. The new products to enlarge the portfolio of solution for energy efficiency in energy-intensive industries and for the utilities. Currently, Turboden has 400 ORC plants in operation in 50 countries, developed in the last 40 years. Henri Martin is the leading European supplier of high-quality steel, hosts the waste heat recovery solutions. Henri Martin has an ORC in operation since 2016 to generate power from high-temperature waste heat from the electrical furnace to feed also the district heating of Brescia, the municipality, during the cold season. Large heat pump, the aim of HEATLEAP, will valorize the residual low-temperature waste heat. COGEN Europe is the European Association for the Promotion of Cogeneration and Waste Heat Recovery, coordinate and execute communication and dissemination activities during the HEATLEAP. Also, we have RINA, engineering and consulting company, monitoring the system design for technical, environmental performance and project replicability. CSMT is the technological and research hub based in Brescia, is in charge of dissemination, communication, and networking activities with the other European projects on this topic. Also, we have A2A on board. A2A is the Italian multi-utility operating in the environmental, energy, heat, grids, and technologies for smart cities sector. Is the district heating owner in Brescia and Milan. The project will be, HEATLEAP will be developed following 4 main tasks. The first one is the development of the innovative large heat pump with a size of up to 7 megawatt thermal output, able to supply the district heating with temperature up to 120 degrees and characterized by a COP up to 8. COP is the coefficient of performance, thanks to an environmental working fluid refrigerant. The second topic is the innovative gas expander producing electricity in the range of 200 kilowatt to 2 megawatt by taking advantages of the reduction of gas pressure within gas let down station along gas distribution network. We also implement a monitoring system collecting and processing data in order to evaluate the real benefits. So, for example, air pollutant, GHG reduction, and so on. And development of business model also to overcome the barriers for large heat pump and gas expanders installation. Let me give you some figures for the large heat pump solution developed in Henri Martin in Brescia. The large heat pump will be connected to the cooling water circuit of the electrical furnace, increasing the temperature from the 75 degrees up to 120 peak. The large heat pump will be flexible and able to cover a wide range of temperature for district heating needs from 85 degrees to 120 degrees. An important remark that I'd like to underline in this presentation is the environmental benefit of the solution. Thanks to waste heat recovery solutions implemented in Henri Martin, the cooling tower of the steel process will be switched off and bypassed with a relevant savings of cooling water. Cooling towers are the key element in all the steel factories using electrical furnace. Gas expander. The so-called reduction measuring station, the RMS, in gas distribution system in the radar of the HEATLEAP typically operates flow rate ranging from 100,000 standard cubic meter per day to 1 million standard cubic meter per day of methane gas at different pressure levels. So usually it's 12, 15, or 50 bars. The current state of the art is to reduce the pressure for final users from the initial pressure to the 5 bars or even less by using a laminating valves. The energy in the pressure drop in this way is lost. Thanks to a gas expander turbine, it is possible to recover the pressure drop, generating power in the range of 200 kilowatt to 2 megawatt developed during the HEATLEAP project. For technical reason, it is necessary to preheat methane in general by using a boiler burning a small portion of methane. The gas expander that will be installed during the HEATLEAP project in A2A will use the hot streams from the district heating to preheat the natural gas. So it is also another way to exploit this kind of technology. So more or less, that's all from my side concerning a very briefly overview of the technologies developed in HEATLEAP. Exploitation of this technology around Europe is strongly connected with policy and with regulation. So let me pass the floor to the European Commission. Thanks again, Claudia Canevari, for joining us. I know it's a quite busy time, do a lot of dossier on the table, so I understand that is not a boring period for you. So, Claudia, the floor is yours if you want to start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Marco, and good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Good morning, Hans, and indeed is certainly not a boring period. I think we're never bored, I must admit, which is good because it's indeed we have the impression of doing something useful, so sometimes tiring, sometimes stressful, but interesting. So first of all, thank you very much for having invited me today to this event. I'm really happy to be with you. And you know very well what our objective is. The objective is to decarbonize the EU economy, and there is a very clear commitment from the EU and from all the member states to reach this goal, and this is very important. And from the energy side, we have a special responsibility in this respect, because you know that energy plays a key role in these decarbonization efforts, being responsible for about 75% of the total greenhouse gas emissions in the EU. And therefore, there is on the one side the need to use less energy, but also to use energy with a lower greenhouse gas emissions content. So we have these both avenues that can help us in this respect. And of course, half of the energy that we consume is to heat our homes, offices, private and public buildings, and to produce industrial goods and the services we depend upon. Heating and cooling is a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions and remains therefore in the spotlight of the green transition. So it's clear that today's heating and cooling networks and systems need transition from what is fossil fuels to cleaner, more modern systems, and that needs to be done in a cost-effective way, obviously. And the amount of fossil energy that needs to be replaced in the energy system is in the order of 300 to 400 MTOE. So it's quite a substantial amount. And one clearly of the keys in the energy transition is the much tighter integration of individual parts of the energy system. In fact, the isolated approach where there are several parallel vertical value chains that rigidly link specific energy resources with specific end use sectors cannot deliver the results, cannot deliver the greenhouse gas reductions that we need. Already with the governance regulation that was adopted in 2018, we put in place the cornerstones for the holistic approach to the policy design across the various domains. And as you are all aware, by developing the NECPs, so the National Energy and Climate Plans, the member states are already better prepared to address energy systems in an integrated way. So consider energy systems integration aspects. As regards to the Energy Efficiency Directive, already the text that as regards the heating and cooling system or sector, actually, and this is in particular hearing. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
now, yes,
Yes.
Yes.
We lost some.
Yeah, because I see that the internet connection is unstable. Okay, I'll proceed. Let's see. I hope that it works. So anyway, I was talking about the comprehensive assessments because you know that member states are required to prepare these comprehensive assessments on the potential of the application of high efficiency cogeneration and efficient district heating and cooling. We've already received quite a lot of these comprehensive assessments, even if not all of them, which is a little bit unfortunate because it's really a very important document because it puts member states in the mindset of looking into how best making use of heating and cooling. So in any case, in these comprehensive assessments, many member states have already mapped the largest sources of waste heat. And these, of course, facilitates a better awareness of the market participants of the potential for a more efficient energy supply with a smaller carbon footprint or even a small carbon footprint. And in addition to these comprehensive assessments, of course, there is quite a lot going on. There are a number of studies that have been are carried out and have been carried out on the available waste heat potential in the EU. And although the methodologies are not consistent, so this is, of course, requires further analysis and further assessments. What is indicated is that the total waste heat potential could be above 250 MTOEs. So indeed, quite good, let's say, quite a good number. A dominating part of the waste heat comes from power stations, but the waste heat potential available from industries and other sources is estimated in the range of 60 to 100 MTOEs. And again, this shows that this is an important area to be considered. Generally speaking, as you are very much aware, obviously, the feasibility of waste heat use depends on the prices of other energy carriers and the availability of stable or correlating useful heat demand. And heat pumps and their use in heat recovery are more competitive when the electricity generation is less carbon intensive and is based on renewables. And in the EU, we've already seen that Sweden and Austria have already a good starting point in this regard, because, for example, in Sweden, the share of hydro in electricity generation is around 75%, and in Austria is 43%. And there are also, let's say, good numbers in neighboring countries. Obviously, I cannot avoid quoting Norway, where it is close to 100%, but also Switzerland, where it is about 56%. This is clearly links very much to the importance of system integration. And you know that there was a strategy adopted by the European Union in July 2020 about the energy system integration. And there is the requirement that energy system integration needs to be covered more in legal acts and at EU level, obviously. The Energy System Integration Strategy talks specifically about the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, and the Renewables Energy Directive. And this is why we've been looking into this aspect within the Fit for 55 package. And as you know, as Marco already mentioned, indeed the package was adopted on the 14th of July, and one of the proposals is the recast of the Energy Efficiency Directive. The Energy Performance of Buildings Directive will come later in the year, will be before the end of the year. As part of the package, there is also the Renewables Energy Directive. And indeed, we already started the negotiations in the Council last week for the Energy Efficiency Directive, and yesterday for the Renewables Energy Directive. So let's say the co-legislators are, let's say, starting to consider these proposals. And the same goes, of course, for the other parts of the Fit for 55 package in different council working parties formations. I will focus just a few words on the Energy Efficiency Directive, because of course this is my area of responsibility. I don't think I'll need to repeat how important energy efficiency is to reach the 55 greenhouse gas emission target. As you are certainly aware, energy efficiency is part of all decarbonization scenarios, because it's essential to reach the results in a cost-effective way. And if I can make a small parenthesis in today's context, we should not forget about all the additional multiple benefits that energy efficiency could bring. And I'm referring, for example, to the creation of jobs, to better health conditions because of better air quality, the fight against energy poverty. So just that there are a few additional benefits, but of course there are more, like in relation to security of energy supply, for example. In any case, as regards the proposal that was tabled by the Commission on the 14th of July, the general architecture of the ED is preserved, but the ambition is increased in many respects, and many provisions are strengthened. Generally speaking, as regards the articles that were touched upon with the revision that took place in 2018, this proposal has really a minimum effect beside what is in Article 7 on energy efficiency obligation schemes, which is now becoming Article 8. As regards the topic we are discussing this morning, so as regards the heating and cooling sector, there are several elements that is worth mentioning. I will mention in particular 4. So the first one of the revision, the new revision of the EED is the suggestion to redefine the concept of efficient district heating and cooling, as well as high efficiency cogeneration. The purpose of these is to ensure that public investments and other state aid will contribute investments capable to work towards the decarbonization of the energy system in the longer run. So that's the first. The second one is enshrining the energy efficiency first principle, as Marco already recalled. And basically this focuses on the idea to maximize energy performance in energy systems as a whole, by removing all regulatory, technical, and non-regulatory barriers for energy efficiency improvements. And the principle should also be applied by national regulatory authorities, transmission and distribution system operators. And in this context, I just refer to the recent judgment of the European Court of Justice as regards the independence of national regulatory authorities. But okay, this is something that we are also analyzing internally in the Commission. Third point that I would like to mention as regards novelties coming from the recast Energy Efficiency Directive is the idea of imposing a requirement to take measures to capture the potential for the application of high efficiency cogeneration and efficient district heating and cooling when those are identified by the member states in their comprehensive assessments. And this is in fact complemented with an obligation to encourage regional and local authorities to prepare also local and regional heating and cooling plans, at least in those municipalities that have a total population higher than 50,000 people. And if you consider that in the EU we have roughly 700 of such local administrative units, you can see how important it is. And therefore we are trying to push with these member states to really look into this comprehensive assessment. So the fourth requirement that I would like to mention this morning is the requiring to conduct installation level cost benefit analysis to assess the feasibility of more efficient solutions for the energy services, including by using waste heat. And this applies for thermal electricity generation, industrial installations, service facilities, where the annual average total energy input exceeds 5 megawatt, and data centers with a total rated energy input exceeding 1 megawatt. So as you can see, there is quite a lot that is proposed by the Commission in this sector, because it really needs to contribute substantially to the decarbonization of the EU by the ultimate objective of 2050. And so let's say the HEATLEAP project is definitely a very important initiative, because it addresses important technical challenges that we have at the moment in capturing the waste heat potential from industry. And to achieve the success in decarbonizing heating and cooling, it is clear that we need reliable technologies so that the energy input could be maximized, because otherwise it could be wasted. With that, I complete my presentation, and thank you very much again. And I wish all of us a very interesting morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Claudia, for this interesting presentation. I keep the occasion, there are a lot of interesting points. I have two questions for you, strongly related to the HEATLEAP project development. And you also mentioned the large heat pump role for the future. As you know, large heat pump is fed by power. So there is a strong difference if you are, for example, an energy intensive industry or an utility in terms of cost of electricity. So energy intensive industries are large consumer of electricity, and so the cost is lower than, for example, an utility. Less the cost, more the feasibility of the project. Claudia, in your opinion, it will be possible to have an electricity price more competitive for large heat pump installations, independent from the operator, large consumer or not? For example, cutting the surcharge cost.
Thank you, Marco, for your question. Of course, energy prices has been in the limelight over the summer throughout Europe, in particular in some member states like Spain, for example. And there are different reasons for these increase that are mainly structural, including also the fact of the recovery, but also the cost of gas. So I have to say that it's a little bit difficult for the Commission to say something about this, because this is really very much linked also to the national circumstances. So it is something that really depends on let's say for a big part, of course, not for everything, from the national situation. So I really don't have a clear answer to your question. Is a little bit to be seen how the market will develop. I know that there are some member states that are thinking about some measures to, let's say, cool down the increase of prices of electricity. Clearly is important, because it's indeed, the costs of electricity have an impact, obviously, on a lot of let's say, industrial and economic activities. So I think this is good. But more than that, I'm not able to say more, I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the second question is related to gas expander. Gas expander is a way to recover the pressure drop and to generate electricity. But in principle, gas distribution is a regulated market. So it means that distributors receive money back for the from the tariff for their investments, but only for standard investment. So investment in energy efficiency is considered in this kind of, for the distributor as additional and not standard. So they not recover the money back from the tariff for the energy efficiency investment. On the other side, I give you the situation in Italy. The distributors don't receive the money for the investment in gas expander from the white certificate scheme, the regulatory framework for the energy efficiency investment in Italy. It seems in contradiction with the energy efficiency first principle. So my question is, will the energy efficiency first principle implementation will help this situation and the exploitation of this potential, in your opinion, and the timeline for this process, if it's possible to know something? Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. As regards to the energy efficiency first principle, it is indeed included in the proposal for the energy efficiency directive in a stronger way. So we are giving a stronger legal basis to this principle. At the same time, the Commission is adopting a recommendation and guidelines on the implementation of the energy efficiency first principle addressed to the member states, and the adoption date is the 17th of September, so it's going to be very soon. And we are also planning a launching event where the Commissioner will speak on the 28th of September in the afternoon. So we will be sending invitations very soon. And the idea is really to explain what is in the recommendation and what is in particular in the guidelines, because the guidelines are, let's say, identifying the different sectors, and they are looking into, let's say, some specificities and how the principle should be applied in these different sectors, like, for example, the finance sector. Let's say that you will see when the document is adopted and published that it is, let's say, still, I mean, it goes into the specificities, but there is still probably margin to develop for the different sectors even more, because it's quite complex. It's the first time that we are really concretely applying this principle. So we hope that it will be helpful, but we think that more will be needed to be even more detailed about the different sectors, but still, hopefully will be a good guidance. The energy efficiency first principle and energy efficiency in general are still sometimes perceived as being in addition to, because of this recovery of prices and costs. But in reality, I mean, the issue with energy efficiency is that it should be seen more in the medium to long term. So the challenge is really to, let's say, bridge this gap linked to the moment when investments are, let's say, paying back. So the idea that I mean, the way the energy efficiency directive, the revised energy efficiency directive is built is also to try to, let's say, help bridging a little bit this gap by showing the advantages in a slightly different way. So I hope that that will be, I mean, depending on what the final results of the negotiations will be, clearly that could, hopefully that could help in creating a different approach. I think that is important for those interested to have a look at the impact assessment and to accompanying the Energy Efficiency Directive, and also to have a look at the impact assessment accompanying the climate target plan, because basically all the proposals of the Fit for 55 package adopted on the 14th of July are basing themselves from that impact assessment. And it will be seen very clearly that using energy efficiency together with the other measures that are foreseen in this package makes reaching the results less costly. So I think it's probably sometimes a question of let's say dwelling into issues a little bit more to get more information. But in any case, we stand ready to let's say to discuss whenever useful with any one of you. Please feel free to approach us, and we are happy to further discuss these issues, of course.
Thank you very much again, Claudia, and thank you for your time. I introduce now Hans Korteweg for the second part of the meeting. And I don't know, Hans, if you have some question for Claudia, and or you can start with the roundtable. Thank you very much, Claudia, for your effort.
Thank you, Marco, for the introduction, and thank you, Claudia, for your intervention and answering some of the Q&As. We did receive one or two questions via the chat function and the Q&A function. One is actually related to taxonomy. I know that's not really your specialty within DG Energy. It's more related to other DGs, but it's more in terms of why isn't waste heat recovery in terms of conversion to electricity considered in the current EU Taxonomy Delegated Act. I think that was published in April. I'm not sure you're able to answer that question, but if you have some insight, please do share.
What I can say is that let's say the changes in the definition of high efficiency cogeneration that we are putting in the Energy Efficiency Directive revised is also an answer to the need, as I was trying to explain before, to the need to let's say align with the taxonomy and align with the state aids, so that there is a common let's say approach to that. And then something else that might be interesting to know, even if it's not specifically a reply to the question, but maybe it goes a little bit in that direction, is that there will be an additional delegated act on taxonomy in relation to gas and nuclear, because this is an area that has been recognized as lacking in what there is at the moment in the taxonomy. So I would say that maybe some elements might be covered there, but I don't know. It's just to say that, let's say, we are not at the end of the taxonomy exercise, if I can use this expression.
That's absolutely correct. We are looking forward to seeing the delegated act on natural gas and on nuclear energy this fall. I don't know if you have a few more minutes, but if I may, I mean, since we are talking about policy, I mean, in your view, what are the policy barriers and possibly the policy enablers? Obviously, you may turn to the EED in terms of enablers of waste heat in the broader context of energy efficiency and decarbonization strategies. I
mean, waste heat is a key player in the decarbonization, as I was explaining before. With a comprehensive assessment, the idea is to allow member states to have a full picture so that they can see where it is more advantageous to invest in relation to waste heat. The recovery and resilience plans, as you know, need to focus on on climate, obviously, and by doing so in relation to on energy efficiency. One important point is in relation to buildings. Obviously, we've seen in the recovery and resilience plans a lot of support for renovation of buildings, and clearly heating and cooling is very much linked to that. The use of waste heat in the general heating and cooling of buildings is obviously essential. So there is a lot of support from the side of the Union for member states to go in all those directions. So this is certainly an important enabler. There are also other financing instruments that could be used in this context. As you know, the Next Generation EU is one of the biggest budget the EU has ever had. So certainly this is very very important. I would say, yeah, that would be my answer, in fact.
Okay, thank you, Claudia, and on behalf of all the other participants and the project partners, thank you, Claudia Canevari, for your intervention. I believe you have to go, so if you have a few more minutes, please feel free to follow the panel discussion. I will now pivot to the roundtable discussion. So I would please ask my distinguished panelists to turn on their cameras. And as I address you, you may unmute yourself and proceed with your intervention. So good morning, everyone again. So what will be happening now is I will be moderating this table discussion. I'm very pleased to have with us a very distinguished panel of panelists from the different project partners from the HEATLEAP project, supported by the European Commission's LIFE funding schemes. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to ask each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves, a little bit about their own company or organization, and then I have a specific question for them to get the ball rolling in terms of panel exchange. So I will begin with Mr. Bertuzzi, who is the CEO of Turboden, and he will be available to us to provide an overview of the project from a technical point of view. So please introduce yourself and Turboden, and then specifically a question for you. Since the 1980s, Turboden has been a technology provider focusing on ORC technology. So why now a large heat pump? And more specifically, from a technical perspective, will the low temperature heat capture play an important role in the portfolio of solutions that are currently offered by Turboden? The floor is yours, Mr. Bertuzzi.
Thank you, Hans. First of all, I'm very pleased to be here. I'm sorry that I am in an airport, so I hope not to have a disturbance or announcement. And I am the CEO of Turboden, and Turboden is an Italian company, but part of Mitsubishi Heavy Industry. And since our foundation in the 1980s, we were focused on a single technology, that is the ORC, organic rankine cycle. With the ORC, you capture the medium high temperature heat, and you transform these in power and in lower temperature heat. And sometimes you can also use this heat again. And so in this case, you are in the cogeneration system. So with the ORC, you help the decarbonization of the power, and waste heat is one of our typical applications in industrial industries or in the small combined cycle. But we know that the target of decarbonization and the new challenging target is not only a target for the power generation, but also for the heat. And our idea is to provide solution and technology also for decarbonization of the heat. And one of the most interesting solutions is the use of heat pump. So with the heat pump, at the end, you do a reverse activity that what you do with the ORC. So you start from low temperature heat, you don't produce power, but you absorb power, and you produce higher temperature heat at the temperature that can be okay to be used by some users like district heating or like industrial users. So the reason why we are not changing but we are adding one solution is because there is a big complementarity from a technical point of view. Of course, in the heat pump, you don't use the turbine, but use a compressor. And we have some experience of compression in our family in Mitsubishi heavy industry, of course. And you don't use the pump, of course. So our goal is to provide a large heat pump, especially in the range of temperature where today there is no offer, no supplier or no solution really available in industrial scale. So at the higher temperature heat. And this R&D program give us the opportunity to demonstrate and to test this solution. In fact, the slide that Marco presented before indicates that the large heat pump that we will install in Henri Martin facility to provide heat to the district heating will generate heat up to 95 degrees. But in some condition, this unit can also be tested up to 120 degrees. And this is really something new for the large heat pump sector. And where typically you can get this heat. So this heat is present at the lower temperature than needed, in industrial uses like steel makers, but also other industrial uses like refineries or chemicals. But there is a huge amount of heat available also in sewage treatment, for example, or in data center. Data center receives a lot of heat, and this heat today is discharged, or also in the flue gas from condensation of waste to energy units. So our idea is to provide a technological solution that can bring this heat and transform at the temperature or at the pressure interesting for industries or for utilities. So our idea is not to provide only high temperature water, but in future also to go to low pressure steam. As a Turboden in the ORC, we experience many different working fluid, and we learn how to introduce new working fluid and the thermodynamic properties and how to study it. Also in the large heat pump, our idea is to start with refrigerant working fluid that are environmental friendly, but also we don't want to limit this. We will study also new solution with other working fluid, but this is not the case of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bertuzzi. Thank you for your intervention. And I may have a follow-up question once we get through the other panelists. You mentioned Henri Martin. Obviously, that's the voice of the industry and one of the project partners. So as an end user, I mean, why has the steel industry decided to be involved in this project? Maybe first you can introduce yourself. As I just mentioned, Henri Martin is a steel manufacturer, so one of the high energy intensive users, so one of the sectors many call hard to abate. So how does or can capturing low heat improve energy efficiency for industry, and how can the lessons learned from this project support other energy intensive industry users?
Yes, thank you, Hans. Good morning, everybody, and thanks to Turboden for the invitation. I'm Roberto de Miranda, and I'm the entrepreneur of Henri Martin. Henri Martin, a couple of words in the introduction of the group. Henri Martin is a fully integrated steel group made by 12 companies, ranging from the scrap metal collecting. Scrap metal is our main raw material, to the steel shop located in Brescia, and we will talk soon about that. We have 2 rolling mills, and then we have 10 companies that buy our steel, doing drawing, peeling, quenching, tempering, pickling, or cold and hot forging, to supply our main customers that are let me say, the automotive industry. So it's very important to be fully integrated to supply difficult sector. Ori Martin, so why we decided to get involved, first of all, in this project? I would say for two big reasons. One is strategic and one is more practical. Regarding the strategic, because our, let me say, our native and historic approach to innovation and sustainability. Sustainability is not now only a key factor to survive, but also a key factor to improve our financial performances. And so HEATLEAP is perfect because thanks to the HEATLEAP, we are able to make our energy intensive environment more sustainable and more integrated to the city. Again, circular economy is fundamental, and the HEATLEAP, thanks to the fact that Ori Martin is located in a residential neighborhood that has always been a problem because the cohabitation of a steel shop and a citizen is, as you can imagine, is not easy. But thanks first of all to iRecovery and now to HEATLEAP, we are sure that we're going to make this integration more feasible and more long-term oriented. Regarding practical reason, it's very simple. First of all, because as Marco mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we are running a high recovery system since 2016, and high recovery is fundamental for HEATLEAP because HEATLEAP is going to bring our temperature from 70 to 95, but from 95 to 120 degrees, it is necessary for A2A to buy our thermal energy. Our heat is the hot fumes and the hot steams from the high recovery is fundamental now. Then I hope, as Paolo mentioned before, that the heat pump we're going to bring directly to 120 degrees, but I mean, not in a foreseeable future. Second, economic reason. I mean, of course, the innovative and sustainable project has to be also sustainable on a financial point of view. We do not expect a quick payback on the investment, but we do expect payback. Thanks, first of all, to the LIFE project from European Union, because we received a grant of 750,000 euro that on a total investment of 3.6 million is I think is a good of it. We're gonna sell thermal energy heat to A2A, so we're gonna be remunerated from A2A. And first of all, we're gonna receive a white certificate. I guess that also in English is the correct name, is white certificate. So we're gonna expect an interesting IRR on the investment.
Sorry, Mr. De Miranda, your connection is breaking up a little bit. Maybe it would help to just turn off the video on your side, because we're not hearing you anymore. I think we may have lost him.
If you need information, please ask me.
Okay, I think, sorry, Roberto, your connection is still breaking up. We're having some technical difficulties on your side.
This is mainly the big picture of the project. Can you hear me? Hans, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. I have a few more questions for you, but
it's not working.
but
you cannot hear me?
no, it's breaking up. Perhaps you can mute.
I'm so sorry, but
I suggest we move on to our next panelist because the connection is very poor.
Okay, sorry, I don't know where.
All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. I suggest we proceed. I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Rigoni, who is the CEO of A2A CALORE SERVIZI. So responsible for the district heating in Brescia and waste heat valorization. So if you could briefly introduce yourself and your company, and then a first question for you. Your company is a large utility managing I believe the second largest district heating in Italy. How do you see the future of capturing low temperature heat with heat pumps? And what place in district heating will it take? And how easily could it be replicated should it be successful in Italy?
Okay, so good morning to everybody. Thanks, Hans. Thanks for this invitation. So my name is Luca. I'm the CEO of A2A CALORE SERVIZI. A2A CALORE SERVIZI is the largest utility in Italy, managing district heating and district cooling in basically main big territories. Brescia is one. Then we have Milano and Bergamo. So in total, we deliver around 2.2 terawatt-hour per year as energy, and we manage around 1,100 kilometers of underground pipes. So we have quite a large infrastructure to be care of. So I have a few slides, really short. So maybe I'll try to share. Let's see if it goes or not.
Perfect.
Can you see the screen? Yeah. Okay. Just 1 minute, I'll put it on a presentation. Okay. So let's say the importance of the waste heat is clearly said. So we talked about since from the beginning of this very interesting webinar. So our target is exactly to increase that. So the share that we have in our network currently between the waste heat and renewables is around 50%. So we have a big footprint in our network regarding waste heat. We recover waste heat from two different big industrial sites in Brescia. So one is Ori, which is here, and the other one is Alfacciai. And then we do the same in Milano and Bergamo. So we have other industry connected to the district heating. So really the target is with that waste heat, we want to save 4 million tons of CO2 in our, let's say, in a decade. So from this year up to 2030. To do that, we put on a table around 1 billion capex in terms of investment on a new development of district heating. This also thanks to the new resilience fund which has been launched recently in Italy. Therefore, okay, as we said, is very important the recovery of the waste heat available on the territory. One of the projects that we have started, and Paolo was mentioning this as a possible contributor, is really the flue gas recovery from a waste to energy unit we have in Brescia. So basically, we are recovering the flue gas latent heat, which is in the flue gas, using heat pumps and pumping the heat into our district heating system. So
sorry, Luca, to interrupt you. Could you perhaps put your presentation in presentation mode, because we only see the first slide. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, because I can see it, but I don't know why it's not coming. No. Now? Still not.
No, it's okay. It's the flue gas heat recovery slide.
Yeah, so yeah, the slides weren't moving. So this is fine, perfect.
Okay. So this is a very large project. You can see the heat recovery around 200 gigawatt hour per year. So it's is a very large recovery that we are carrying out, and this allows let's say a big increase also on the wall efficiency of the thermal cycle of about 14%, and a huge reduction in the NOx that we are, let's say, discharging to the atmosphere, thanks also to a new system to really to clean the flue gas before the recovery of the heat. And this is one case, as we said. The other case, now that the slides are coming, or? Yeah, can you see the slide then? Okay, the other case is a project that we are now starting in Milano, where we recover the heat which is not used from water wells that we have in Milano. In Milano, we have many water wells, around 100, to control the water level of the underground system. And this
sorry, we are still on slide 3.
Okay, I don't know why. Anyway, let's see. Why? I don't know why it's not coming. Okay, let's see.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Now.
So, and in this site, so we are connecting some existing wells, which are discharging water to a small river. We are connecting, creating a new, let's say, 4th generation district heating grid, and we are recovering heat, which will be pumped into three different sites. One is a school, another one is a civic center, and another one is a private building. So this is again waste heat recovery, because this water is basically not used. It's just pumped to maintain a certain level of the underground system. And with this, let's say, system, we are able to recover around 700 kilowatt as power for heat and 500 kilowatt as power for cool. So it's again another quite important project that can be a starting point for a larger, let's say, heat system. Another one quickly, and this is, let's say, really the last one I'm showing, is again a waste heat recovery from an electrical cabinet. In the center of Milano, our colleagues, we are also the distributor of the electricity, not HEATLEAP CALORE SERVIZI, but the sister company Una Reti. So they own a large electricity cabinet, and we are recovering the heat which is discharged because this heat is coming from the cooling of a transformer. We are recovering this heat, and again, using a heat pump, we are increasing the level and feeding a civic aquarium, which is sited just in front of this electrical cabinet. So these are, as I said, quite different projects, but all, I mean, really the common path is really the recovery of the waste heat on top of what we are doing, as we said, with Ori and the other industry. So having said that, I can stress really the fact that it is really our target to look after this kind of heat and try really to make our network available to recover this heat. It's always not easy, because the temperature level it must match our network. We are also working in order to reduce as much as we can the temperature of our network, which is not easy, because it's a network in Brescia installed around 50 years ago. but we are really moving forward in order to get this target, in order to be able to include as much as waste heat as we can. So thanks, and this is my, let's say, last slide.
Thank you, Mr. Rigoni. If you can stop sharing, then I'll move on to the next panelist. So I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Trichilo, who is the president of CSMT. If you can introduce yourself and your organization. And my first question to you is, it seems from what we've heard from the other speakers, Brescia is a very good example of cooperation amongst industry, technology providers, utilities, academia, in terms of pursuing a path of sustainability. Maybe you can expand on that and tell us a little bit more about the role of the new Center for Sustainable Development. Also, the experience involving all relevant actors in that cooperation, the sustainability plan under definition, and perhaps the role of innovation and the EU funds for local developments for cities like Brescia and the region.
Well, good morning to everybody. And then, first of all, it's a great pleasure to participate to so important event. First of all, introduce myself and our organization. I am Riccardo Trichilo, CEO of CSMT. As Marco said at the beginning, CSMT is a technology transfer multi-sectorial center, a not-for-profit organization whose main shareholders are the Brescia Industrial Associations, Chamber of Commerce, University, municipality, and several companies, I can say the more relevant companies, and local banks. Our mission is to identify and promote technology transfer, scalability, replicability of the innovative solution. This is our task. And like those we developed, tested, and demonstrated within the HEATLEAP project. In fact, our payoff written below the logo is just make together sustainable innovation. I repeat, our task is sustainable innovation. Well, coming back to your question, and you are strongly right. Brescia, in fact, can be, in my opinion, considered as a virtuous example of cooperation among industry, technology provider, utility, and the university, and pursuing the path of sustainability. Sustainability, I mean the global sustainability. Of course, I mean economical, environmental, and social sustainability, as we use to say, profit, planet, and people. Well, a real proof of this is the fact that last year, the Brescia Sustainability Development Center has been founded. And this has been the first in Italy, and up to now is the unique in Italy. And this center has been founded by several variegate set of stakeholders, the Industrial Association, the University of Brescia, the Chamber of Commerce, the municipality, and the provincial government of Brescia. Together and jointly with the relevant industrial and research actors, for instance, like the utility A2A and CSMT. Well, the scope of this center is within a global and territorial approach, and I repeat, global and territorial approach is to identify sustainability priorities and consequently, and to promote and to coordinate a project aimed to sustain such priorities. It's not so common to have this kind of so global and cooperative approach. Well, the center has activated the thematic tables and groups that are actually working on major subjects, for instance, hydrogen deployment, sustainable mobility, smart agriculture, industrial waste heat valorization, and energy saving. And whose objective is to develop the project proposal to be afterwards funded through private or public sources, including, for example, European as well as national or regional funding programs. Again, to combine private and public. The strength of the center is open and inclusive network and character, aimed to create a critical mass. This is important. Deploy synergies and combine, again, public with private resources, exploit capabilities, competencies, and best practices in order to face environmental, social, and economical challenges, promoting a fully integrated and sustainable environment. The center is also open out to other territories at the national and international level, and also to other stakeholders. Actually, a sustainability plan for the center is under finalization, where the role of innovation is pivotal, and where EU funds, direct and indirects, are expected to play a major driving role, but combined, again, also to the relevant self-investments coming mainly from the strong, important industrial ecosystem of our region that, I repeat, is really strong, the industrial weight in this area. I am confident then soon further successful initiative project like HEATLEAP will spin off from the center, building on the solidity and long-term inspired vision of its member. At the same time, EU funding could be a great value in order to promote and mostly to replicate this approach. By the way, replicability of innovative and sustainable approaches is exactly the focus of CSMT, and is also the core of our role within the HEATLEAP project. If I can say that HEATLEAP project, in fact, is important not only because it is an extraordinary example of, let me say, industrial symbiosis, but can be considered an extraordinary example for territorial symbiosis. I think that is important. No? It means to enlarge our point of view, not only to speak about industrial symbiosis, but also to involve the entire territory. Well, which is, in conclusion, my message. My message is that sustainability takes a cooperative and a systemic approach. Otherwise, it doesn't work and it fails. And I love to say and to use in order to transmit this virtuous and healthy approach, I mean the approach of the cooperation and systemic, to call this like spherical thought, pensiero sferico, spherical thought. And I think that Brescia now is clearly working in such direction. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Trichilo. Thank you for your intervention. I move to our last panelist. I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Chiappa. He was the Executive Vice President of RINA and also the CEO of RINA CSM. So thank you and welcome to this panel. If you could, in your own words, introduce your organization, and then I would be very interested to know a little bit more about RINA in terms of, it is a leading engineering company and it already works very closely with industry, utilities, and also supporting the EU institutions. Maybe you can also expand upon what your role is in the HEATLEAP project and a general overview of waste heat valorization. And also interesting link to that, the business model for this technology and how do you think it could be replicated? Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all the HEATLEAP partners, and thanks to the European Commission that gave us the possibility to work together on this initiative. We have a long story as RINA of cooperation with the partners of HEATLEAP. I would like to mention the TASIO project together with Turboden, or the initiative dealing with industrial symbiosis and circular economy on the Brescia district, together with Henri Martin. Together with Henri Martin, we have many other initiatives running on product and process, but this long-term cooperation is for us a major highlight in our experience. For those that do not know RINA, let me just give you a few figures of what is RINA today, a global firm providing consulting and engineering and certification services worldwide, with more than 400 colleagues operating in any continent. We have more than 200 offices, 7 countries, and last year we were very close to 500 million turnover revenues. These are the figures. In RINA, I'm responsible as Executive Vice President of Materials, Technology and Innovation Business, with the direct responsibility, as you mentioned, Hans, on Centro Sviluppo Materiali, the research center as RINA we acquired in 2014, and we included and integrated in our capabilities in order to provide full support to technology transfer and technological development, especially in order to work together with industry in the steel sector and in the manufacturing sector. We have a long story of cooperation with public bodies and industries and organization and industrial association. And as you can imagine, innovation and sustainability are key pillars for the next years. Another key element for us is participation to EU-funded programs. It's not only a way to cover part of the cost of our investment in terms of knowledge, capabilities, and assets. It's also the possibility to test on field and work together in order to set the basis for what will be our knowledge for the next future. As there are many representatives of the steel sector, let me just give some elements about this. Steel sector is sometimes seen as an old sector, traditional one. That's not at all. So many innovation started in the steel sector, not only in energy management, in energy saving, in reduction of possible impact, but also in control system, automation, Industry 4.0. Many solutions have started in the steel sector and have been transferred to other sectors. And the HEATLEAP is indeed a further demonstration of this attention that some brilliant managers in the steel making sector can give to advanced technology. Why this is so important in the steel sector? Because the objective in the steel sector for the next future are really, really aggressive. 2030, there is the target to halve the impact of the industry in order and have carbon neutrality in 2050. According to the size of a steel plant, you can imagine the challenge that this means in terms of planning, investment, collection of available and needed technology to reach those objectives. So that's why Also, for example, talking about the electric arc furnace technology, there are so many opportunities to improve the technology in order to reduce the environmental impact. Those actions will be very much needed in the very next future, and this means that any combination of solution, as HEATLEAP is a demonstration, because HEATLEAP is an integration of solutions in order to achieve a higher final result in terms of savings at environmental and at economic level, will be needed. This is the area in which we operate, not only on the processes but also on the technologies. So, for example, we are also currently investigating opportunity associated to other technologies complementary to those mentioned by HEATLEAP partners. For example, solid state technology for the possibility to recover heat in conditions where other solutions are not applicable. For example, in the steel making sector, slag is definitely a relevant source of heat that is lost from the process itself. And we are currently investigating some solid state technologies that could directly transfer heat into electric energy with some concern. The technology readiness level is definitely low, but the opportunity is there. And we were discussing about the fact that we need mixed solution. There is not a solution fitting all requirements. We are also looking in this exact moment also to the possibility to integrate storage systems in order to balance peaks, in order to better tune demand and offer in the energy management process, considering different technologies available. This is very important in order to meet environmental targets, but this is also the market that is pushing it. You are probably aware that some big buyers in the steel sector already declare their need and their position in order to their commitment to green steel procurement in the next years. This will definitely give an additional opportunity to those steel makers that will be able to demonstrate their commitment on a steel making process with the highest attention to environmental aspects. And this leads to your question, Hans, because the possibility associated to the business model is definitely something that will need the technical feasibility, the technical availability demonstrated on field, but then we'll have to identify the economic aspects in order to really identify the condition under which the payback of the investment will be acceptable from the investor's point of view. But those investors will be those also pushing for the introduction of these technologies, as this is a process that will anyway take its part. In the project, RINA is responsible of the integration of the data monitoring system in order to collect information from the different components of the architecture, and then provide direct and indirect indicator for further identification of the best condition for operating the different parts, and then get the highest performance possible.
All right, thank you. We are running out of time, but I think some of us can stay a little bit longer. But I do understand that Mr. Rigoni has to leave quite soon, as well as a few of the other panelists. I have a few other questions, if I may. Mr. Rigoni, what are your expectations in terms of district heating developments in PNRR?
Yeah, so thanks and sorry for for being in a rush, but yeah. So basically, again, I'm going to share a slide that I think most of the people from Italy will know. So this is the famous sharing of grants from the PNRR. So regarding the desiccating as one, let's say, is present in a chapter. The chapter is the so-called green revolution and the eco transition. So this allows 200 million grant, and according to the paper, they are going to finance around 20 projects. So the target is really to have 320 kilometers of new desiccating pipe installed and 360 megawatt new plants again running. All must be within the frame of efficient desiccating according to the directive. So also all our network are efficient according to the directive. And this is for us very important because we have several projects which can be inscribed in this mechanism. And we are really keen in waiting to start discussing with the ministry in order to present this project. The time frame is June 2022 for the new, let's say, bid to be launched. And really the project will be selected by the end of December 2022 and must be completed by March 2026. Therefore, okay, the time frame is very, very dense, but we think that this for us is a key, really a key target, really to prove that the project that we are now designing can fit into this basket. Therefore, okay, I'm keen really to start discussing with our government on this new base, which will be for us a key role in setting the development of new district heating. Grazie.
Thank you, grazie, Mr. Rigoni. I'd like to turn to Mr. Bertuzzi from Turboden. You have to catch a plane pretty soon, but if I may, I'd like to ask one final question before you have to get on the plane. The HEATLEAP project aims to develop as well a gas expander. Could you explain a little bit more in detail on what do you expect from this technology in the long term?
Yes, thank you, Hans. You know, but every time you increase the pressure of a gas, you consume power and you need a compressor and you produce also heat and you heat up this gas. And at the same time, every time you reduce the pressure of a gas, you release power and you cool down the temperature of this gas. You can do this reduction of pressure through a simple valve, lamination valve. In this case, you reduce the pressure, but you don't produce any power, or you can use a technology that is the gas expander technology. So you use this reduction of pressure to run an expander, okay? Gas expander is not a new technology, so we are not inventing nothing new. There are several reputable company offering since decades gas expander, but typically this is in the range of some megawatt units, okay? What we are doing is try to develop a small size gas expander in the range of few hundred kilowatt unit, and the goal is to make it feasible because it's always it's more difficult to do a smaller unit to be feasible. And this HEATLEAP project offers us the possibility to test this new concept that we have in a gas reduction and measurement system of A2A, very close to our headquarters. So this is also important. And this unit will produce 275 kilowatts and will be fed by 21,000 standard cubic meter of gas per hour, okay? And and it will operate an expander running at about 20,000 RPM. Okay, so it's quite new for us because typically our turbine are operated at lower RPM, 3,000. We already installed a two gas expander of 600 kilowatt at about 7,000 RPM. Okay, this is a small scale project, but consider that only in Italy there are 500 similar locations where you can have a similar duties. So where today they discharge a potential power through lamination valve through this system that is the reduction system through valve, and where tomorrow, if this unit is proven, and if we can also achieve a low cost OPEX solution, because also you cannot charge too much the after sales cost of these small units, and if they also the legislation and the incentives will give some incentive also for the implementation of this system, and Marco Baresi can better explain what we will need. So it's a wide certificate scheme to be implemented also for this small scale gas expander. We think that this can become a sort of a best practice to be installed in all these small scale reduction pressure system.
Thank you, Mr. Bertuzzi. Thank you so much, and safe travels. I think we're coming to the end of the panel session, but I do still have one more question for Mr. Di Miranda. As an energy-intensive user, and in view of the Fit for 55 and what was presented by Claudia Canevari just before, I mean, what is the role of PPAs or power purchase agreements in terms of greening the power, and how does that impact your industry and your company specifically?
Yeah, sure. Sorry for the connection problem I had before. I switch off the video in order to not.
You sound clear now.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I was talking before about the economic return on the investment in HEATLEAP, and as I said, there is also sustainability on a financial standpoint. We want to make our industry more efficient because the large heat pump will consume energy, but we're going to save energy because we don't use anymore the cooling system to refrigerate our electric arc furnace. Of course, as I said, the large heat pump will consume energy, electricity, and as you know, steel shops are very energy-intensive companies. So last year we decided to take a direction and try to reduce at all our CO2 emission. Our main goal is to have all our energy supplied by renewable energies. It's not an easy task because, as I said, we consume a lot of energy, but the fastest way and the more concrete way to reach this goal is PPAs. Corporate PPAs are contracts signed by our company. We signed the first, we've been last year the first steel shop to sign a corporate PPA in Italy. And this contract allow us to have the certainty that all the energy is coming from this contract is from renewable energies. Last year, I said that we signed this contract, this corporate PPA with a solar plant in Sardinia, is 52 megawatt, and this will give us. This is giving us, let me say, roughly 10% of our consumption of energy. This is the direction, and as you can imagine, the more energy coming from renewable energy, also the investment like the HEATLEAP, where the large heat pump consume energy, is even more green, as you can understand. So turning back to your question, this is the direction. I hope that not only the European Union, but also the Italian government will help companies to sign more PPAs, because what is really difficult now, as my standpoint, is that a lot of solar new plant or aeolic or difficulties in terms of authorization, and should force the local politician to authorize more solar or aeolic plants in order to allow energy-intensive companies to sign more PPA contracts, because also on an economic point of view is very interesting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miranda. That was very useful. We're coming to the end. I've seen quite a few questions being posted in the Q&A function, and Marco Baresi has diligently answered most of them, if not all of them. So thank you, Marco, to answering those questions while we in parallel have the panel discussion. As Marco mentioned, I mean, this webinar, the launching event for HEATLEAP project will be made available on the website, and those slides that were presented this morning will also be made available on the website, and all participants will receive a link directing them to the website and the YouTube video that will be created out of this morning's webinar. Maybe I give the floor to Marco Baresi for any final few words before we end this morning's webinar.
Thank you, Hans. I have nothing else to add. I really thank you, all the participants, and I really thank you, the roundtable, and also the European Commission, because in my opinion, we have heard interesting things, and the period for the future will be challenged in terms of regulatory and policy. So we stay in touch with the project to show you the technology we develop. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you, Marco, and thank you to all my distinguished panelists. Thank you for your interventions and your insights. And we look forward to continuing to share information as it comes from the project over the coming years. So thank you to all our participants.
Thank you, everybody.
Many thanks.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao, Roberto.